What is up, everyone, and welcome to the last mic'd up session of the bulk. We are doing pull B today. Now, as you can see from the calendar today, well, actually yesterday, I was supposed to upload the full day of eating, but if you watch that video, which I highly recommend you do, it is very heavily edited. I probably put 40 hours of actual work into that video in terms of recording, editing. It was a very long process. Literally 10 hours a day was just put into that video for the last 5 days. But anyway, it is currently rendering now, so hopefully I will be able to upload it when I get home, which means today is both a recording day and an uploading day. So, you know, I'm very busy. My hair does not seem to be cooperating. Hopefully the next time I do a mic'd up car session, you know, the beard will probably be gone. The hair will probably be short. I will be cutting. There is much to look forward to in the coming videos. But as per usual, I did weigh in this morning at, no, it was 217.6, 217.8. It was a busy morning of editing, all right? But yeah, that means, you know, we are very close to our goal at this point. I wanted to talk a little bit today about my training. I get a lot of questions of people asking me about my rep range, why I train to failure, why I only do like 1 to 2 sets per exercise. So today, in between the exercises, I'll probably talk a little bit about training volume and, you know, the way I program my workouts. So if you are interested in that, of course, you know, feel free to chill, maybe put this on while you're doing some cardio, while you're eating a meal, whatever it is. And yeah, I guess let's enjoy the workout together. And actually, one last thing I did want to remind you guys, my proteins discount is starting soon for Black Friday, the 27th to the 30th. Code MAXI will be 51% off. Everything on the site will be discounted, so make sure to use my link in the description if you want to purchase anything. And yeah, now let's enjoy the workout. So still got one warm-up set here, but I figured I'd use this time to explain one of the most common questions I get asked on this channel. You know, Max, why do you do such low reps, right? If you've seen any of these videos, you know that usually my reps are somewhere between 4 and 10. Almost never will I do anything more than 10, and I don't think you've ever seen me do anything less than 4. And the reason for that is simply because of mechanical tension, right? All roads lead to mechanical tension. Everything stems from mechanical tension. When it comes to training most effectively, mechanical tension is pretty much the answer to everything. Now, hopefully by now you guys have heard this term before, right? I've explained it many times on this channel. Many other creators have talked about it, but in essence, mechanical tension is simply the force exerted by your muscle fibers that sends a signal to your brain telling those muscle fibers to get stronger, to grow. You know, this is called a hypertrophic stimulus. Muscle fibers, when they enlarge in size, it is called hypertrophy, right? In order to build muscle, those muscle fibers need to enlarge, and that is how it happens by the process of mechanical tension. So how exactly do you get this to occur? How do you get this force to be created? Very simple. You train very close to failure. That is because mechanical tension exists on what is known as a force velocity curve, which is an inverse relationship. In order for the force to increase, your velocity actually needs to decrease. And by velocity, I simply mean concentric velocity, or the speed at which you perform, you know, the concentric portion of any sort of exercise. Now, that doesn't mean you can just intentionally slow down the concentric and your force is going to jump through the roof, right? Obviously, if you do a bicep curl for 15 seconds, you know, with 10 pounds, the force is absolutely nothing, right? It has to be involuntary, right? That force needs to be involuntarily slowing down in order for the force to increase. And in order to do that, the brain begins to recruit more high threshold motor units, or in other words, involve larger active muscle fibers, which in turn is what elicits mechanical tension. And if you've ever trained to failure, you know that this really only happens on, you know, those last 5 reps, right? If you do 20 reps of a bicep curl, the first 15 aren't really very difficult, right? It's not like you start like extremely hard, like right from the start. It's really only those last 5 that become difficult, where you see that concentric velocity slowing down. And as I mentioned, as the velocity decreases, the force increases. This force is mechanical tension, which means, you know, those last 5 reps are really the only ones producing that mechanical tension. In other words, those last 5 reps are really the only ones building muscle, and they're really the only ones that matter. So why do I stick with low rep ranges? Because anything more is just unnecessary. Anyway, I will talk more about this after I hit this set, but oh wait, I still have one more upset left. Shit. I believe this may be a 10-pound jump on each side from last time. The knobs on this machine are very short, so it's kind of hard to load a lot of weight. I think that was 5 reps and 1 partial. The way this machine is set up, it's super difficult to get your straps in, right? If you're doing single arm, it's a little bit easier, but yeah, because of that, my straps were kind of slipping. Wasn't able to get as many partials as I wanted. So continuing on with rep ranges, as I mentioned earlier, it is unnecessary to do anything more than 4 to 6. Those last 5 are really the only ones that matter. Why waste your time and effort and so much fatigue on those earlier reps if they're not stimulating any hypertrophy? Now, just because it is unnecessary does not mean it is useless, right? A set of bicep curls to 10 reps will still have those 5 reps to failure, right? Those last 5 are still there, assuming you are actually training to failure. But the thing is, those first 5 are just creating maybe some fatigue, and in advanced lifters, what's the point? However, if you are not an advanced lifter, doing high rep sets or higher rep sets will benefit you to some degree because you just don't have the skill involved in taking a low rep set to failure. Take a newbie who's never been to the gym in his life. Is he going to be able to do 5 reps to failure on something like a seated row like this, where his reps are actually controlled? He's using the target muscle and his form is not substantially breaking down? Probably not, right? Training to failure is a skill that you have to learn. And when you do low rep sets, your set will start when those reps are slowing down, right? If it's those last 5 that start slowing down, that first one, well, that's part of the last 5 if you're only doing 5, right? That's going to be something that's very new to them, and lowering the weight to do more reps will be beneficial because you can still train to failure. Your entire set isn't extremely hard from the start. You can still produce that mechanical tension. Obviously, if you're doing 30, probably fatigue will limit you, but if you're only doing like 10, 15, you'll probably be fine. Next question is probably, why do I do low sets? And in order to talk about that, I might have to talk about progressive overload. After, of course, we hit this weight, I did drop it by 10 pounds. So before talking about why I do, the number of sets I do per week, you got to take into account progressive overload, because progressive overload is pretty much a mechanism that tells you whether or not your training is actually doing its job, right? Building muscle is a science, and if you are training to failure, your sets produce that hypertrophic stimulus. Assuming you are eating a good diet and your recovery is good, you will build muscle. Now, how do you actually tell whether or not you're building muscle? Obviously, your physique will change, but your training will get better, right? If I'm able to do, let's say, 100 pounds on this machine for 1 week, assuming I am actually building muscle, maybe next week I will be able to do 105 pounds, or maybe I take that set to failure and my reps increase. That is progressive overload. I've talked about this in other videos before, where progressive overload is not just going to the gym, deciding that day, all right, today I'm gonna add 5 pounds to this lift so that I can get stronger. No. Progressive overload happens because you got stronger. It's not what causes you to get stronger. You see the difference? Training needs to be a process of stimulating yourself to get stronger. And to do that, all you need to do is train to failure, take care of your diet, take care of your recovery, and your sets will get better. Of course, right, if your reps get better, let's say maybe you're using less momentum, you're using more of the target muscle, your form gets better. That is also a process of progressive overload, right? Progressive overload doesn't necessarily just have to be increasing weight or increasing reps. If your set is getting better, you're using more of the target muscle, that is also better. What it is not, it's not, resting more, doing another set, right? Anyone can do any of that without building any muscle. That is not progressive overload. That's just being an idiot. So on the topic of progressive overload, I have finally got my gym pin. I ordered this thing on Amazon stupidly. Should have ordered it from the gym pin site. Gym pin, please sponsor me, by the way. This is not rate sponsored. I bought this myself. Getting something like this, it'll make your lifts so much better because, right, increasing 5 pounds, 10 pounds, sometimes even, 15 pounds on machines is going to drop your reps so dramatically that it's just not worth it. In terms of progressively overloading, you'll see all of my exercises have some sort of rep range, right? It's usually somewhere between 3 reps, 4 to 6, 5 to 7, 6 to 8. 7 to 9, something like that, right? And the reason for that is because you always want to start at the bottom of your rep range, go all the way up to the top. That's when you can increase the weight and go back down from the bottom. So let's say you do an exercise, you put a weight on, and you do 4 reps to failure. What does that tell you? Next time, you'll probably do that same weight. Maybe you'll get 5 reps, maybe you'll get 4 reps and you'll fail the 5th. Eventually, assuming you are training properly, you will get that 5th rep. If you don't, weeks and weeks afterwards, something is wrong with either your diet or your recovery because you should be building muscle, you should be progressing. Once you get that 5th rep, you can keep the weight the same, get to that 6th rep. Once you get all those 6 reps, increase the weight, maybe 2.5 pounds, 5 pounds, whatever it is, depending on how heavy the machine is. Go all the way back down to 4, maybe you go back down to 5, and then you start again from there. And that is how you progress. If I'm feeling good that day, maybe I'll jump 2.5 pounds and I'll go back down to 5. How strong you feel that day, maybe you're just having a really good day. But you need to have some sort of basis on when to increase the weight so that you're not just jumping into every session, increasing the weight, right? You have some sort of progress scheme telling you when to increase the weight, when you can increase the reps to allow yourself to actually make the progress. So continuing on with, what I just mentioned about reps, that is why you always want to use a rep range and not a rep target, right? If you ever see a workout saying, 4 sets of 8 reps, I shouldn't be going into each set already having a rep in mind, right? If I just get 8 reps, what do I do if I can get a couple more? Do I just stop at that 8th rep? No, of course not, right? That's why you have a rep range. For this exercise, the rep range is 6 to 8. Before I even start my set, I have an idea of how many reps I'm gonna get, but I have no idea what the actual rep is gonna be. Am I gonna get 6 reps, 7 reps? Well, I think I got 7 last time. So I know, assuming I'm not losing muscle, I'm probably gonna get at least 7 this time, but am I gonna get the 8th? I have no idea. Obviously, I wanna push for as many as possible, assuming you are training to failure. I don't wanna stop myself shy or give myself any incentives to stop at a specific number just because it's just that number, right? 4 by 8, 4 by 10, 3 by 12. What's the significance of 12 as opposed to 11, right? There's absolutely no difference. Well, 12 is 1 more than 11, of course, yeah. What's the difference between 12 and 13? Why would you intentionally stop yourself shy instead of doing as many as possible, assuming you are intentionally training to failure? Of course, in some cases, a lot of people do leave reps in reserve, and that's a completely different argument. Personally, me, as of now, I'm taking all my sets to failure, as you can see, but you always want to aim for a rep range, not a rep target. So we've talked about reps, we talked about hypertrophy, we talked about mechanical tension and progressive overload, right? Those are all very important. All of this information will hopefully give you some sort of foundation to answer how many sets should you be doing in the gym after I hit the set, because I've been resting too long. And I will answer it after. Oh, that was hard. Real quick, another question a lot of people ask me is, Max, why do you do different reps on your right side and your left side? Same reason I mentioned before, right? Don't go into your set with a rep target. Just because you got 8 reps on your right side doesn't mean you should stop at 8 reps on your left side, right? If you can do that 9th rep, do that 9th rep. You want to take both sets with the same intensity. If you're training to failure on your right side, train to failure on your left. Naturally, most people do have a stronger side. If you can tell by looking, then definitely I made a video on how to balance out a muscle imbalance, but don't intentionally stop yourself just to match match each side. Here's what you should be doing is matching the intensity. But anyway, let's finally answer the question, how many sets is necessary? Well, it depends. It depends on a lot of things. It depends on your own personal ability to recover. It depends on, are you training to failure? Let's say you're doing a set of 10 reps and you leave 2 reps in reserve. If you're really good at gauging reps in reserve, that tells you you're doing 3 stimulating reps, right? If those last 5 are the ones that matter, you have 2 reps left, and the last 3 are the ones that really stimulated muscle growth. Now, if you do that for 3 sets, what does that tell you? In total, you got about 9 effective reps, right? 9 of those 30 reps, if you did 3 sets of 10, 9 of those reps were effective, count towards hypertrophy. Now, someone who does 2 sets to failure, maybe they do 5 reps, like me personally, I do a lot of 5 rep sets just straight to failure. That means I got 10 effective reps in just those 2 sets, right? It does depend on your intensity a lot, and it also depends on your own personal recoverability. Your goal in the gym should be to progress. That's what tells you you're building muscle. That's what you should be aiming for each session. If I'm doing 5 sets per exercise, how in the world am I gonna progress all 5 of those sets? It's just absolutely impossible to go through an exercise and progress on each set 5 times in a row. And if you're training like that, number one, I can absolutely guarantee you are plateauing. You're not progressing at all. Probably the same weight and the same reps for all 5 of those sets. You're probably not training as hard as you think you are. That is why I keep the sets very low, because you just don't need a lot to see progress. If I'm able to progress on 2 of my sets consistently week after week after week, that tells me I'm building muscle, right? I don't need a lot to do it. I'm progressing my sets. I'm training to failure. My diet is good. Why would I ever add more sets than necessary? All that's going to do is make it harder to recover. It's going to hinder my ability to add weight, hinder my ability to progress. It's going to make it more difficult to do the things I should be doing.
Always remember, the goal of your session is to stimulate the muscle, not absolutely pound it into fucking oblivion by destroying it with a ton of volume.
That is why I do low rep ranges. That is why I do low sets, because of my ability to effectively elicit mechanical tension, stimulate hypertrophy, recover from those sets, progressively overload for the next session, and build muscle. And that is why. I think I did a good job at nailing all the points. So let's enjoy the rest of the workout and chill. That was probably too heavy. Yeah, I think that was too heavy and my form was dog shit. Way to discredit everything I've set up until this point. Good job, Max. Might tear a bicep here, going for 60 pounds, 10 pounds of an increase from last time. In terms of total weight, 5 pounds increase per dumbbell. Yeah, this gym doesn't have any like 57.5 pound dumbbells, so what more can you do? Aim for 5 and then I'll jump back down to 55s for the next set. Ugh. 4 reps, that's pitiful. Baby shit, that's baby shit. You're out? Yeah. I'm going, man. Peace.
see you tomorrow.
Come on. Leaned a little too far back in that last rep, but fuck it, dude. Gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. And it is time for some posing. Got the Itachi shirt on. Very solid shirt here. Actually pretty thick, to be honest. I'm actually really surprised I hugged the arms here. This was supposed to be oversized. But whatever. Couple of poses, obviously, with the shirt on. I don't know, just because it's cool. All right, good enough there. Back pump is feeling really good today. Got a nice empty locker room. Obviously last time with the posing, had a couple guys in here. You know, always ask for permission if you want to record in a locker room, especially in a locker room, right? This is the last mic'd up session, but this won't be the last physique check. You know, we got a couple more. Obviously got some measurement videos coming out for you as well, so we can get a check on the arms, the chest, the shoulders, but I mean, overall, looking pretty solid. I can't vacuum. I've never had this much fat in my stomach. It is weird. I was doing leg extensions yesterday and I was sitting on the machine and I kind of was like leaning over like this and I felt like an actual belly roll in my stomach and I was like, the cut cannot come soon enough. Oh, one more of these actually. Oh. One last reminder of MyProtein's Black Friday sale on the 27th to the 30th. Code MAXI will be 51% off, of course. And also, if you didn't watch this video, if you just came for the posing, I highly recommend checking out, some of the clips beforehand. Talked a lot about training principles in terms of training to failure, progressive overload, rep ranges, sets, a lot of valuable information in this video, so make sure to check it out. Yeah, that is it for the pull day, and that is it for the mic'd up gym sessions on the bulk. Do not worry, the cut will commence soon, and the mic'd up sessions will return. Hope you guys are looking forward to what's to come, and goodbye. Damn. Low key. Wait a minute there. Low key big as fuck. Goddamn gorilla.